Hello and welcome to Daughters of Narcissistic Mothers podcast, your number one podcast for women reclaiming their life by healing mother wounds and stepping into their power. In this episode, you will get to recognize the most common phrases your narcissistic mother uses to invalidate your feelings, and she's likely used them as you were growing up. And you will learn also the impact that such toxic behavior has on your life now. Listen to the end to get the 3 steps to turn it all around. I'm Matilda and I'm your host. I'm an inner transformation mentor supporting women reclaiming their fullness through the one-on-one 10 weeks program and through Reclaim Your Fullness online community. To know more about these offerings, subscribe to the newsletter or visit the website womenreclaimingtheirfullness.me. All the links are in the description of this episode. Now let me start by asking you, do you feel alone and crazy in how you feel most of the time, especially in relation to your narcissistic mother, but not only in relation to that? Do you struggle to identify how you really feel, especially in challenging situations? If asked how you're feeling, do you struggle to respond or feel under pressure and scrutiny, maybe even unsafe to answer? If your answer is yes to one or more of these questions, I want you to know that this is the result of years of your own feelings being completely ignored at best and totally invalidated at worst by your narcissistic mother. The purpose of this episode is to help you feel less alone in this and to empower you with the 3 steps I share at the end to turn it all around. So why would your narcissistic mother invalidate your feelings? It seems like completely against maternal instincts to invalidate how your child feels. And you would be right to think so. But for a narcissistic mother, things are quite different. She does not operate like an emotionally mature mother would. A narcissistic mother is self-centered and self-absorbed and has no capacity to emotionally regulate. Because of that, her own emotionality takes precedence over anyone else's. She's the most important person in the room at all times, and what she feels is what matters the most. That's how she lives her life. That's how her world operates. Also, a narcissistic mother sees no separation between herself and her child, so the child has no right, in her opinion, to have their own feelings and emotions. Everything has to be in accordance and not disturbing the mother's emotionality, which means there is a set of rules as to how you should and shouldn't feel at any given moment. A right way to feel and a wrong way to feel. A narcissistic mother is not attuned to how you feel, nor she's interested in truly hearing you. What she wants to do is she wants to tell you how you feel, as if she knew you better than you know yourself, which she fully believes she does. And also she wants to tell you how you should feel. So here are a few examples of things your narcissistic mother might have said to you that invalidated your feelings in that moment. And she might still be saying things like that to you. And also things she says that are signs that she's constantly placing her own emotional needs first. I have about 20 statements, so buckle up. Number 1, calm down. You are too excited. You're stressing me. Number 2, stop crying like a baby. You have no need to. If they gave me money for every time you cried, I'd be rich. Number 3, that's not how you feel. I know you best and you feel this way. Number 4, I know how you feel. It must be the stress so in this case, it would be like if you've told her something about how you're feeling that's connected to whatever. It could be connected to her behavior. It could be connected to something else. But she's just gaslighting that expression that you are putting out to her and telling you that it's the stress with something else or redirecting it to something else. Number 5, you should not feel like that. It makes no sense. Number 6, how is it even possible that you would feel that way? I taught you better than that. Number 7, I could never get you and your feelings. Such nonsense if you ask me. Number 8, do you know how it makes me feel when you say things like that to me? This is where she puts her own feelings before yours. Number 9, is that how you feel? Imagine how I feel. So again, it's going back to her feelings, her emotionality. Number 10, of course you would feel like that. That's so typical of you. You are always so sensitive or so insensitive or so selfish. You can fill the blank with whichever label she would put there. Number 11, don't be so selfish. Think about how I feel in this. That again is putting her own feelings before that. I have a personal example of that, of when I was in a situation where my life was really being threatened, like my safety was actually being threatened, and I ended up having to actually genuinely go and report this situation. But me reporting this situation would have also affected my mother's life, because the person that I was reporting was close to her. And I remember her sitting with me in the police station, and sort of once the police person had gone away from the room to give us some space, she turned to me and sort of looked at me and went, are you really sure you want to go through with this? Imagine how is this going to affect my life, as in her life. And that's a very, very typical behavior of a narcissistic mother. Don't be so selfish, sort of thinking about your own needs. Think about how I feel in this, as in how she feels. Number 12, don't you have a bit of love for your mother? If you did, you would not make me feel this way. Bit of victimhood in there, just for good measure. Number 13, you didn't call me because you were in an emergency? Don't you get how worried I was? So again, you were in an emergency, and yet she is telling you that she was worried, and that should be the thing that you're thinking about first. I have an example of that. This is not actually, it wasn't my mother in this case, it was my father, but he gave out to myself and my partner because we didn't keep him informed during my labor of my first child. I was going through labor, and I didn't think that someone should have gone out to tell him how I was doing. And I'm just not gonna make any more comment on that. That's actually a real clear example of you are in a situation where actually your needs are the most important needs. And that's not being selfish. That's because that's what that situation is about. It could be an emergency, it could be anything, labor, or you could also be having a really good time because you deserve that, and that's okay. But don't you get how worried I was? It's like, again, putting the responsibility of her own emotionality on you. Number 14, you feel that way? Don't worry, I won't be a bother to you for much longer. That is using her maybe old age and fragility, or the fact that she could just go away, like my mother would do that when she was not old, and she wasn't speaking about her dying, but she was actually speaking about that all her suffering was going to cause her to get sick and die. So it was even an hypothetical situation, but it was just being put there, or there were suicidal threats and things like that were used as a threat, again, to invalidate your own feelings, make you feel selfish, and make you feel responsible for her feelings. Number 15, you're too sensitive, can't even get a joke. Gaslighting your reaction to something that you know really well was not a joke from your mother, was like an open criticism or a put down or something nasty that came out, but you get labeled as too sensitive. Number 16, that's how you feel after all I've done for you. Number 17, you cry. I should cry with all I've been through with you, and yet here I am, ever the martyr. Number 18, I'm sorry about how you feel, but you were looking for it. So there's like a little bit of what seems like empathy that even makes you open up a little bit. Oh, she is actually sorry about how I feel. Is she actually seeing me? But then you get but it's your fault. Number 19, if I made you feel like that, is because of what you did first. So again, a bare acknowledgement of how you're feeling, but ultimately it's your fault again. Number 20, I would expect you to feel this way. You were always, and you can fill the blank here, problematic, selfish, too sensitive, troublesome, angry, child. So whichever, take your pick amongst the labels. So do any of this sound familiar? Have you been told things like this by your mother? And of course, I'm sure I've missed plenty, as in these are only 20 of the most typical things that a narcissistic mother will say to invalidate your feelings and put herself as the most important person in the room, put her feeling as the most important in the room, make you feel guilty and responsible for her feelings. But we all have our own personal versions of it, so if you feel comfortable doing that, share in the comments your version of this, because I'm sure this is also going to help others that are going to resonate with your experience. So yes, how does that impact us as adults? Growing up with your feelings and emotions never being validated, outright gaslighted, or ignored will leave you feel confused about your own feelings and emotions, unable to recognize how you feel in determined situations, feeling unsafe to express how you feel, afraid to be a burden to others with your feelings, because your mother made you feel like a burden to her with your feelings, and so therefore not expressing how you feel. Unable to speak your needs, because if your feelings are a burden, then also your needs are a burden. Because our feelings are what let us know what our needs are. If you're feeling frustrated in a situation, it means you need it to be different somehow. If you're feeling angry about something, it means you need to set a boundary somewhere. But if we can't relate to our feelings because those are not allowed, or we're confused about them, or we can't recognize them, we're disconnected from them, then we can't speak our needs. It will also leave you feeling alone and crazy, because you've been gaslighted all your life about your feelings. You'll feel alone and crazy, feeling like your feelings are often silly and unjustified, like you're overreacting or underreacting. It'll leave you falling into patterns of people pleasing, like placing others' feelings constantly before yours, or fawning, so constantly paying attention to how others feel at any given moment, to the point that you don't matter and everyone else is what has your attention all the time. It can leave you feeling responsible for others' emotionality, and also believing there's a right or wrong way to feel about things, which brings us away from tuning into ourselves. If you have a strong belief that you should be feeling a certain way about something, then you are disconnected to how that actually make you feel. And there isn't a wrong or right way to feel about things. It's really important to connect with how you actually feel, because the real information about yourself only comes from there. So, of course, all of these impacts every single relationship you have in your adult life, be it romantic, friendships, work relationships, and even your relationship with your own children. And we can kind of go one of two ways. Either we can become self-absorbed and entitled in our own feelings and emotions as a reaction to how we've been treated growing up, and also because it is a pattern that we may learn from our narcissistic mother. Or we can go the other way and become the doormat in every interaction, constantly placing our feelings and emotions in the background, suppressing, people pleasing, and making sure everyone else is happy but us. And actually there is a third way, which can be a mix of both depending on the situation. So you can have situations where you actually behave in an entitled way, and situations where you place yourself as a doormat. That was my experience. When I look back, and still, like, the patterns are there. If I don't bring awareness to it, there can be situations where that entitled part can come out, and there are other situations where the opposite, the doormat, I don't matter, I'm a burden, my feelings don't matter, comes out. So how can you step out from these unhelpful patterns that are not your fault at all? None of this is your fault. but yet they're there nonetheless. So here are the 3 steps, which are, of course, a journey. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But with these 3 steps, you can actually really change all of this for yourself and start reclaiming your life. Start living the life you deserve. Start giving your own feelings. First of all, start recognizing them for what they are. Start allowing yourself to feel what you feel, and then start receiving the information from those feelings and emotions that you need to receive. And then from there, start being more authentically who you actually are, separated from your mother, like you. So the first step is awareness, becoming aware of your own emotions and feelings, and learning to label them, learning to interact with them, learning to receive them. It's really important. And also the awareness of the beliefs you have collected growing up with your narcissistic mother. That's really important. So when you start becoming aware of that inner voice that's telling you that you shouldn't be feeling a certain way, or that your feelings don't matter, or that you're being selfish, and maybe you're labeling yourself in ways that were like the same ways your mother would label you, or maybe still, she might still be doing that. So we start recognizing that, you can start sort of letting go of that voice gently, recognizing it for what it is, and then pay a little bit more attention to how you actually feel. Number 2, attunement. This is feeling into how different feelings and emotions affect you by tuning into your body. This is where you give yourself permission to feel what is there to be felt, and you let go of the stories you've been told and taught to believe while growing up. So in the awareness, you're becoming aware of those stories. In the attunement, you're actually dropping into your body. And again, this is a process. It requires training and requires support. It's not a lone wolfing kind of thing. But you start tuning into your own body, your own system. You go, okay, when I'm feeling anxiety, this is where I'm feeling it in my body. These are the signs. This is how my body's communicating to me. This is how I can make my nervous system more flexible, retrain my nervous system to work with all of these emotions and feel them without being completely affected by them, without becoming completely swallowed into them, without stop functioning into my life. Building that container and gently let go of the stories that have defined you up until now because of your mother, because of the things your mother told you growing up. And that goes into step number 3, which is authenticity. More and more you get to know your authentic self. You get to feel into what is true to you. Now, very often I get asked the question at this point, does that make me like my narcissistic mother? If I just follow my feelings. This doesn't actually mean that you get your feelings to rule your life and run the show without any container. That's what your narcissistic mother was doing. Actually, she wasn't, and she may still be doing that. Mine is still doing that. They're not aware actually of their real feelings. They're not aware of what's happening underneath the surface. They're only vomiting out what's more superficial and all of that intensity that they're not able to deal with because they've never faced it. They've never gone into the uncomfortable bits. They've never done what it's called shadow work. They've never gone into the subconscious and brought stuff up to the surface. They've done none of that. So the awareness and attunement isn't happening in a narcissistic person, and it hasn't happened in your narcissistic mother at all, because that at times it's uncomfortable. It's not actually always a pleasant journey. Anyone that's selling you any of this as like a walk in the garden, a really easy process, something that's going to be super pleasant and amazing flowing, that's good marketing, but it's not true. There's discomfort because we're going into parts of us that are intense to go into, to look at. We mightn't want to look at them. We're going into parts of emotions that might be very intense to feel, where taking by the hand parts of us, part of ourselves that have felt very, very unsafe for most of our life, and building safety back into that. So it's a process and it's a journey, but what it brings you to is authenticity. It means that you start knowing how you feel, you know where that comes from, and you start trusting yourself more and more. You start trusting your feelings, the information that come with that inner guidance, that you start separating it and individuating it from your mother's beliefs and the things that she told you, and also from your coping strategies, your trauma responses, and the patterns in your nervous system. So that's what happens when we go through these 3 steps. Awareness first, attunement, and then authenticity. And it doesn't only happen once, it happens again and again and again, because yes, you get aware of something, you tune into your body, and you find out something authentic about yourself. You discover a part of you didn't know was there before, or that maybe you repressed for a long time and all of that. But then something else comes up, and then we just have to bring more awareness to it, tune in a little bit more, and discover another part. And that process, it's ongoing. So if this sounds like something that feel helpful, this is what we do in the one-on-one 10 weeks program, the Inner Transformation Program, to reclaim your life, to reclaim your fullness, healing the mother wounds. And also this is what we train with inside the community. It is not a thing that I would invite anyone to do on your own. It's a lot of work to do on your own, and it's, I don't want to say impossible, because nothing is ever impossible. And I've done a lot of it on my own, but that was a lot of work. I did have really good mentors at different times in my life, and I'm actually so grateful, because someone on the outside can guide you and see things that are called blind spots that by ourselves we can't see. And especially when we start going into the subconscious, we start going into shadow work by yourself, there are going to be places that your mind doesn't want to go, because there's fear, because there's been hurt, there's been experiences that we've had that don't want us to, we don't want to experience that again. We don't want to go there again. So to have the guidance of someone that can spot those blind spots for you and support you in navigating those intense emotions, I found it to be life-changing for me, really, really essential. And I see how life-changing it is in my work over and over again. So whether it's with me, if you resonate, or whether if with some other mentor that you resonate with, that's okay. The invitation is to definitely find someone to support you with this, and a community where you feel you can actually really, really explore all of this in a very safe way. So with that, I'm gonna say goodbye, wish you a wonderful week, and send you lots of love. Bye for now.